Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's going on, Ma? If you've showed up yet, welcome to a Tuesday, July 8th version of the Watch Party. Of course, part of the watch list. How you guys doing? In case you guys don't know, we do this every day. I mean, in case you just now showed up and you're getting caught up on things, we do this every day now. I think this is Tuesday. We started it on a Tuesday, I think 2 weeks ago. I think we're embarking on our third week of the watch party. Random on a Tuesday. I know it should probably start on the best damn day of the week, but Mondays are already crowded in my life. For some reason, when I first did this impromptu, it wasn't something that I just started on a Monday. You don't really plan things that way. Anyways, glad you guys are here. I'm just rambling, so a few of y'all can jump in before I start at the beginning of this story. Got a couple to go through. There's things going on in our world that continue to be disastrous, but also I want to make sure we do something more where we follow up on the stories that we've been talking about and continue to update you on the progression of it, the continued lies that get told, or maybe the nothing that happens afterwards. It's how we get ourselves in many of these situations where people see outrageous things that go down in our political world, then forget about it the next day because there's 5 more outrageous things that are happening. It's actually part of the whole plan and system that this administration had as they stepped in. Just flood the zone, and people just really can't keep up with which disastrous thing to go on about. I haven't talked about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and the Russian continued assault on Ukrainian citizens, or the continued assault of ICE agents throughout the city of Los Angeles and other parts of the country. Bro, those are some of the most important stories that are going on in our world and in our country. But man, some things just drag us one way, and then we look up and go, wait, ICE agents were swarming through MacArthur Park in the middle of the day, acting like they're still doing something, and they're not an occupying army. And as you've seen, they've got now like desert fatigues on and war helmets, like an invading army. I'm talking about it a little bit on accident because that's not even what we're even talking about today. How you guys doing really fast before we get started? My dogs love to laugh. How you guys doing? Sweden Dragon. How you doing from Sweden? I'm not sure what time it is there, but I'm glad you're with us. Sorry, I got lint on my eyeball. Corporations ate my baby. What's going on? Now I know who you are. Now I know who you are. Muriel View, hi. She says, hey, JR. Saw the live and dropped to say hi. Your American Haitian poet. What's going on, Muriel? That's right. And I see your thumbnail. I know you. Yes, glad you guys are here. A few of y'all have made it. Let's go ahead and get started. The Jeffrey Epstein list that doesn't exist apparently has annoyed enough MAGA sycophants to try and figure out and wonder why it doesn't exist. And why is it that this administration would actually say it doesn't exist when they always did before? There's this guy who likes to talk a lot. He also likes to cry a lot when he's disappointed. I just want to start here.
So I'm going to go throw up, actually.
Hold on now. Is he going fast? Is he going fast? No, he's not going fast. Hold on. Here he is. Here's our favorite guy.
So I'm going to go throw up, actually. And this only happens every few years when something really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically going to puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now.
Ew.
Because I have integrity. And I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country. And they're doing so much good. And then for them to do something like this, it hurts my guts out. So I'm going to go throw up.
Alex Jones has integrity. Is he on the toilet, bro? So Alex Jones is upset that the Trump administration has flip-flopped on yet another thing, this time the Jeffrey Epstein list that doesn't exist, and his mouth is watering because he's about to throw up. Or maybe his eyes are watering as he squeezes them really tight. Now, this is the thing. You would think that he would actually be upset about this, but until you see this performance that he just put on, I'm trying to figure out if he's actually upset about it or if he's trying to let people know that he's upset about it when he really isn't, because that was fake as hell. What's he doing? There's actually other folks that are really upset about it, and they're not faking the way Alex Jones is. Other MAGA folks are upset about what's going on. Watch what they said.
About the most transparent administration ever.
What on earth is going on? Was Pam Bondi set up by deep state FBI career officials? Is she stupid? Is she so click thirsty?
Yes.
That she got out over her skis
Yes.
trying to make news, being a Fox News star.
Yes.
Pam Bondi, all of it. All those videos are saying, yeah, she's seen the videos. It's all coming up. And then now it doesn't exist. I mean, what? What?
This seems like unforgivable behavior. How could she give us those phase 1 binders that contained nothing while bragging about the cover sheet that she made, the most transparent administration in history, and tell us that the SDNY had the real goods? The binder was just proof of a deep state cover-up. That was the real story, she told us, only to now say, sorry, there's nothing. If I'm President Trump, I wouldn't tolerate it. She's a liability to him.
Pam Bondi is a liability to the president. If she were Donald Trump, she wouldn't put up with people protecting him from being exposed. Well, there's a reason why. I know it. It's just like Alex Jones, who's faking the tears. There's outrage, and then there's the stop point of the outrage, because you have to continue to keep up this facade that you actually care about anything that you've ever said you've cared about. They don't actually care about child and sexual trafficking of minors or humans, period. They don't care about drug dealing. You see all the drug addicts within higher ups and the elitists of our country. They're all drug addicts as well. They don't care about any of this stuff. They use all these issues. They don't care about abortion, bro. They got side pieces with pregnancies that they eliminate and get rid of. They don't care about any of these issues. They use it to make you fight and act like there's some moral authority while they take your money. It all goes back to that. You notice their whole bill was the whole point of this administration. It was the biggest thing that they needed to get by, because that has to do with your money. Everything else is nonsense. Where's all this legislation that's keeping all these stupid social fights that they pushed during the campaign? They don't care about that stuff. Now they'll put these things out there to try and get folks that were following them on that to continue to be following them, but they don't really care about any of these things. It's the money, bro. So she's become a liability to the president. The president has been a liability to himself, but he passes all those responsibilities down to other people who then have to deal with it and go in front of cameras and not be believed for the BS they have to say. Matter of fact, some of those same people run the agencies that too many of our politicians confirmed to be heads of those organizations. And before they were heads of those organizations, people like Kash Patel were saying some crazy things. I guess what current Kash Patel would say is crazy things about this Epstein list and who's on it and why it continues to be hidden, because it was hidden only when Democrats were in charge.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
You say that the FBI...
Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to make sure that you don't realize who's on that list. Who else might be lobbying folks to make sure that no one's on that list? Who would they lobby, and in what position in our government would that person hold, that the person who doesn't want that information to be released then lobby to make sure that that list isn't released? There's this guy who looks a lot like Kash Patel back before he was the director of the FBI, who was wearing shirts that said cash on it because it's a constant publicity stunt with these folks. I wanted to remind you guys again, Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. Here's Kash Patel before he was director of the FBI.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is that. I mean, there's
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting
Yes.
of the Catholic school.
Yeah.
who has Jeffrey Epstein?
Who personally, directly, Glenn Beck's head asked, is in charge of this? Who would have access to these things? Oh, that's easy. That's easy, Glenn. It's the director of the FBI. And the head director of the FBI is this guy named Kash Patel, who's now covering everything up because there's someone who's more powerful and has more money and influence over his life right now that he then has to make sure he continues to protect. It's obviously Bill Clinton and Joe Biden, and Hillary Clinton and the Obamas as well. And by the way, if it is, great, expose all of them. Why are they trying to cover it up? the head of the FBI. They had so many great, clean answers beforehand. There's this other guy who's also the deputy director of the FBI, who was also formerly a guy who jumped on podcasts and screamed all the time and made sure he told you what was the problem with the cover-up surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. Here that guy is before he was the deputy director of the FBI.
Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that?
Didn't know that either.
The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Epstein's an intelligence asset.
Doesn't it make so much sense now? Jeffrey Epstein is an intelligence asset for the Middle East, right? Right? Or maybe he is. Is that part of it? Are there people that are involved in that world that are also being protected? It's not just one guy being the president of the United States currently. It's also maybe other folks who funded him, other folks who are in positions of power, maybe folks who know some things about these guys that are on these lists to make sure they continue to follow their foreign policy. Maybe the guy who just gave Donald Trump a copy of the letter that he sent to the folks at the Nobel Peace Prize Committee to make sure that the guy who's starting wars literally in the middle of his own country would get the Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe it's people like that. I don't know. I'm just speculating, going off of these crazy folks that suddenly when they're in positions of power, they're no longer those crazy folks. That same guy was still talking before he was the deputy director.
Jeffrey Epstein may have some videotape of people central to the Democrat and maybe Republican Party doing some things, let's just say, they shouldn't be doing. Joe, are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
Yeah, unsavory actions, yes.
Unsavory. Very well said, Joe. There were people on Jeffrey Epstein's island and on Jeffrey Epstein's plane who may not have known they were being recorded. And Jeffrey Epstein may have been recording this or may not have even known about some of the recordings. You get what I'm saying? Intelligence officials may have been using Jeffrey Epstein, knowingly or unknowingly. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? That some of these cameras may have been his doing, may not have been his doing. Regardless of the purpose, there were clearly, based on a number of people I've spoken to, intelligence agencies who were using Jeffrey Epstein in the information black market to gather files on people doing things they shouldn't have been doing.
I mean, I'm not saying it. They're saying it. The argument is being had between the same people who said the opposite of what they're saying right now. Now, there's this easy explanation where they can say, listen, I'm in now in a position of power. That was me speculating as a podcasting host before. And now that I'm in a position of power, I actually have access to the files that I said when I was in the position of power, Pam Bondi, in March and April and May. Now that I'm in this position of power, I have access to the files. As a matter of fact, they're on my desk. And once they're on my desk, I'm just waiting for Kash Patel to organize this, sift through it, redact the names of the witnesses, and it's going to be in your faces before you even can blink. And we've blinked many times and still haven't found those things in our faces yet. Once they're in a position of power, this isn't just their wild-eyed statements beforehand. They said once they're in, oh, we've got it all. It's right here. Oh my God, it's right here. It ain't here anymore because someone told you that it's no longer supposed to be there. It's pretty straightforward. The only question, I mean, we keep going through these things. I talk about it all the time, and I bypassed trying to convince folks that don't want to believe it a long time ago. It was right around the time that Donald Trump got elected this time. I said, well, we're beyond the point of trying to convince people. The point of convincing folks about the lunacy and the craziness that you're following down behind is to keep you from voting for this guy who's going to F up your life. So now that the effing up has begun, what's the point of convincing you, bro? They don't need to convince you anymore. That's why they're lying to you directly. And as you ridicule them for those lies, they go, moving on, do something about it. That's what they're now saying to you. do something about it. Yes, it is what you voted for is also what they're saying. They don't care what you think anymore, bro. You gave it to them already. Still along that line, by the way, that was Dan Bongino, in case I didn't actually say his name. That's backing up the same story that Cash Patel was telling. I love the video of them on Fox News talking to Maria Bartiromo when they're both sitting like a couple of, scared guys that are in witness protection. Like, is he watching right now? He killed himself. There's no Epstein files. They're scared crapless. Man, I wish I could cuss on here. I'd be saying so much more that I really want to say. But this is where they're standing. One more thing though, Dan Bongino, that same guy, was talking about how they released this video to prove to you that there was no suicide that took place. I mean, that there was actually a suicide that took place in Epstein's cell. He wasn't actually murdered the way he always said before. But there was some disclaimers he tossed on there that I'm not sure if people noticed. I want to play this part again that we also played yesterday, but pay attention to the way he talks about the way that video is.
Comments were clear. I'm not paid opinions anymore. I work for the taxpayer now. I'm paid on evidence. That's it. The evidence we have in our files clearly indicates that it was, in fact, suicide. We do have video. It's not the greatest video in the world. I don't want to set expectations on fire. However, the video does show in that specific block that he goes in, made a phone call. You'll see 12 hours of guards going to basically check on him, come back. You'll see no one really comes out in that bay, in that area, than him. There's no one in there.
There's not really one in there. Now, whether we released this video, Dan Bongino says we released this video. It's not the best video ever. It doesn't really show anything. In fact, it's pretty much BS. But we released this video, and I don't want to get expectations. But once you guys watch this video, you're not going to believe what we presented in this video. But still, we released it anyway, because just in case enough of you guys are dumb enough to just watch it and notice the issues with the video, and then still gloss over those same issues with the video that's supposed to prove our point that we're not proving, because the video doesn't prove it. Let me tell you why it doesn't prove it. Tennessee Holler pointed this out. They, well, I mean, I'm sure many folks have, but this is specifically where I got it from. Tennessee Holler did point out here that there was first off, the New York Times story, which I'm going to read from in a second, pointed out that there was a missing minute in that video. I just want to play the little part that they have there. They slapped a finger on there to show you that time frame from 11:58 p.m. right before it got to midnight. And as it's supposed to be 11:59, it jumps to 12 midnight. And that was the missing minute. It's odd how that works. So there was a missing minute in that video that Dan Bongino said, we're going to release this video. You're not going to be convinced by it, but watch it anyway and hope that you don't notice things. So again, that stupid, the sensationalist rag, the New York Times, that this administration and many others that surround him make sure that they want you not to believe any word that they say. The New York Times pointed out, well, many had been awaiting what, let me show you guys what this, let me stop reading without you guys seeing what I'm reading. New York Times. While many had been awaiting what Ms. Bondi declared would be phase 2 of the release of the so-called Epstein files, the new memo sought to end any such expectations. It included an hours-long video whose existence was previously disclosed of the hallway outside of his jail cell, as we know. Now, the video released by Ms. Bondi and Mr. Patel, both of them apparently, appears to be missing a minute just before midnight. The digital clock on the screen jumps from 11:58 to 12 a.m. Officials, this is the best part, officials did not immediately have an explanation for the apparent gap. They could have just, I mean, if you're gonna doctor a video, get rid of the time piece. I mean, you've had months in office to doctor this video, where you at least maybe even superimpose another clock timer at the bottom, at least try to fool people to a degree. And I'm not sure if it took them just a minute to go on there and murder dude, or whatever it is that they did, or I'm sorry, for him to kill himself in that minute of the stopgap that's been confirmed, and officials still not having an explanation for it. But I mean, if you're gonna doctor something, damn. I mean, if you're paying people money to doctor videos, I could have doctored that. Again, wish I could cuss. I could have doctored that better than this. That's the best they've got. This is the best doctored video you got. You just cut out the minute and move on. Again, I don't know exactly how it happened. I don't know the degree to which that minute means so much, but I do know the provable video that's supposed to show what really went down doesn't really show what went down. It's weird how that works. Okay, so this is the question. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince people that aren't going to be convinced of anything that's right in front of their faces, but maybe it'll spark a fire into people who are, say, in office, who have some level of power to do something. Bring this up, maybe have hearings, make the guy answer questions for it every time he's in front of a microphone. We're talking about the president of the United States, or maybe even the director of the FBI, or maybe even the DOJ head, Pam Bondi. Any of these folks who said all these things before and have now changed their tune. Maybe someone should ask Caroline Leavitt. Matter of fact, they did. And I think the reasons why more of these folks don't want to talk about it is because of the way Caroline Leavitt had to answer this question. Come on. There you are.
Okay. So the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News. Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. That they promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Wait a second. So wait a second. Caroline Leavitt, I had to write down some of the things that she said. What was on Pam Bondi's desk when she went on Fox News and said, I have the Epstein files on my desk. I'll be releasing them so the American people can have full transparency and make sure they know what we're talking about. She was saying that the entirety of the paperwork of Epstein's crimes are on her desk. If the entirety of the paperwork of Epstein's crimes are on your desk, shouldn't that include the client list? Shouldn't that include evidence of what is it went down and who it went down with and who was a part of funding this and facilitating this huge sex child trafficking ring? Shouldn't that be included in the entirety of the paperwork that's on Pam Bondi's desk? She's kind of implicating Pam Bondi. She said, and by the way, you're gonna have to talk to Pam Bondi about that because I don't know, bro, I'm just the messenger. I'm just here to lie every day. But the details of what they told me to lie about with Pam Bondi, you got to ask Pam Bondi about that. Have we checked out if Pam Bondi has said anything this week? Has she said anything since they've been talking about this? Maybe I've missed those press conferences. Maybe I've missed the tweet. Maybe I've missed that Truth Social post. I don't know. Pam Bondi should be telling us a lot of things. So should Kash Patel. By the way, Caroline Leavitt went on and talking about the FBI is doing the great criminal work ever, and we're arresting 14,000 violent criminals, and crime rates are down. Crime rate has been going down for years. So, anyways, in large cities specifically, the way that they've always demonized and used scare tactics on people to say is the opposite. But the FBI is tamping down on violent crime, so therefore you should also believe them when it comes to them lying about this huge violent crime and criminal sex trafficking ring that was going on, that we said was our #1 priority in exposing things and showing these things to the American people. That's the way it always has been. Matter of fact, there's this these a couple of the guys I want to, before I finish this up. Jack Posobiec says, by the way, this is December 30th of 2021. Jack Posobiec says, by this is when Biden is in office, in case you guys missed the numbers. He says, are you guys paying attention yet? The DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers have made a deal that their little black book of contacts will never be made public. They made that deal that her little black book will never be made public because apparently they had a deal with the Biden administration. You know what? Maybe they did. I still don't doubt that. Maybe they did, and they're protecting people. But there's people that are now in power that were very speculative about this. One of those folks who responded to Jack's post was J.D. Vance, the current vice president of the United States. He says, what possible interest would the U.S. government have in keeping Epstein's clients secret? I wonder if that was before or after J.D. Vance was calling Donald Trump America's Hitler. Maybe he was talking about Donald Trump because at one point he was against him. At one point he was calling Donald Trump a fascist. But now that he's part of the fascist team, none of those things matter. One more thing that J.D. Vance said that I think applies to right now. This is a whole part of that whole thread that he have. If you're a journalist and you're not asking questions about this case, you should be ashamed of yourself. What purpose do you even serve? I'm sure there's a middle class teenager somewhere who could use some harassing right now, but maybe try to do your job once in a while. This is all on December 30th of 2021. Maybe someone should ask J.D. Vance the next time he's lying in front of a podium. Yo, are you still looking for those journalists that are doing a no good, dirty job of not asking about the details of this client list? That also the guy that was wrongfully stashed into your administration, Elon Musk, is continuing to say the guy that's in charge is on the list because he's got backdoor information, whether he has it or not. You guys are revealing that you're covering up something. I know. I'm sorry. Just bringing up things that they said. That's all that was. Oh, really fast. I got 25 minutes left, and I'm curious where you guys think about this before I jump to the next story, because this next story annoys the hell out of me. And maybe I haven't talked to enough people about where they stand on the economy, the trade deals, and how prices literally have jumped. We keep acting like prices haven't already skyrocketed on many things in our country. I'm gonna get to that in a second, but I'm curious. Like I said, I always say I'm gonna say something to you guys, and then I don't, because there's so many things, bro. There's so many things, and let's keep real. I've a lot of things to say. Sarah Sawyer, maybe talking about me cussing, says, JR, these lives don't run on the linear channels, so you can't cuss, right? Like in the aftermath. Does John cuss in the aftermath? What a filthy mouth son bitch. I can't believe he does that. What's wrong with this guy? Maybe you should be able to speak without cussing all the time. It makes your point more effective. I'm gonna ask John about that. Maybe I can, because I'd be letting him fly if I could. Bobby, good to see you guys. Explore Infinity, good to see you. Just want to let you guys know my dogs love to laugh. I think I pointed you out at the beginning. Good to see you guys. Pitchforks Dragon, I'm glad to see the dragons in here hanging out so that you guys can have a nice a handoff straight from one show to the next, like we kind of used to do. But obviously this is all a bunch of BS going on with the Epstein files. But again, I hope you're not tired of it yet, because I'm going to come back to it the more that they lie about it. Or they may just shut up and never talk about it ever again and tell any journalist or reporter that brings it up, you don't get any more access to me because I'm not listening. It's very possible that it could go that way. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Who knows how long it's going to take, because I like to talk too much. Sam Lanina says, no one is choosing to censor yourself but you. Sorry, bro. I know. I mean, I got to play by a couple of rules, man. I don't want you guys to not hear anything I have to say because they're coming after me for talking. Freedom of speech and all that stuff. Let's go to this next story. More updates, or I guess new plans of attack when it comes to this administration and their trade deals and their tariff policy. Donald Trump sat down for some reason in front of his whole cabinet and also Benjamin Netanyahu the other day. And he was asked about multiple things. But one of those things was about those trade deals. Those things were supposed to be 90 of them done in 90 days. And I remember Liberation Day, I believe, was April 2nd. It's now July 8th right now. Still waiting for those deals that haven't turned into more pushback. But he was asked about those 90 deals in 90 days, and the answers are going to just amuse you.
Tariffs. What happened to 90 trade deals in 90 days?
We've spoken to everybody. We know everything. It's all done. I told you, we'll make some deals, but for the most part, we're going to send a letter. We're going to say, Welcome to the United States if you'd like to participate in the greatest, most successful country ever. I mean, we're doing better than ever. We have, I don't think, and you're going to see these numbers soon. We've never had numbers like this. We've never had investment like this. We have more than 90. We're going to have much more than 90, but most of those are going to be sent a letter. This is exactly what I said. Now, we've made a deal with United Kingdom. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal. We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal, so we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries, telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit, depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it. And actually, it's a small fraction compared to what we should be getting. We could be asking for much more, but for the sake of relationships that we've had with a lot of really good countries, we're doing the way I do it. But we could be getting a lot more. We could ask for a lot more than what we're asking for.
He's done a lot. I mean, as far as he's concerned, the deals are all done. He was asked about those 90 deals in 90 days. I want to recap a couple of things really fast. So we've spoken to everyone, he said, and you'll see the deals will soon be here. So if you've spoken to everyone, what have you been speaking about? Why aren't those deals here yet? Because those deals are a demand letter where welcome to the United States, because this is some kind of brochure for your crappy hotels where someone may walk in. Welcome to the United States. You'll be paying this much money. I'm sorry, the consumers will be paying. I'm sorry, the businesses will pass on the cost of these tariffs and taxes down to consumers who'll be paying for these imported goods to come in. And if you don't want that, just become a part of the United States. How does that even work? How does that work? As far as he's concerned, we're done. He does things the way he does them, he points out. The way you do things is by bankrupting multiple businesses throughout your life and getting bailed out. This is just another indication of that. His hope is that more folks will bail him out from his stupid ass decisions, and that being consumers and the American people, except he'll force that bailout on us by us paying for all these things and making us so prosperous. Jesus. There's a little bit more going on. Caroline Levitt, again, had to answer these questions. Also asked about 90 deals in 90 days. I mean, it's just not a slogan. It's a policy.
Secretary Bessent said yesterday that countries will boomerang back to the April 2nd tariff level starting August 1st. Why did the president decide to have those tariffs not take effect Wednesday as originally scheduled? And I was also wondering if you could share, obviously we saw the letters the president sent out on Japan and South Korea, but if any other major U.S. trading partners are getting letters today.
Sure, yes, I can confirm. In fact, I have those letters. If you could get me the folder with the letters in them, Liz, they're right in the previous office. I have the signed letters that went out to both South Korea and Japan today. And there will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters directly from the President of the United States. And weeks ago, I stood at this podium and I told all of you that the President was going to create tailor-made trade plans for each and every country on this planet. And that's what this administration continues to be focused on. The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker. That's what they're focused on. And in the effort of transparency, these letters will continue to be posted to Truth Social. So you can enjoy them yourself. Go ahead.
I feel like they shouldn't be posting these letters to Truth Social because we've seen a couple of them. I'm going to get to them in a second. And it's embarrassing, bro. So there's these letters being sent out. This, by the way, this is another taco pushback. It was supposed to take place on July 3rd. He's supposed to jump in, but now they've been sending letters to Japan and South Korea already. Matter of fact, this is the quote that she said: tailor-made trade plans. Yo, these sales jobs suck. These sales jobs really suck. He took this whole administration from a bunch of used car salesmen that are trying to sell you a 1987 Hyundai and say that it's a 2025. I don't know why they think people are believing this. Tailor-made trade plans are actually just these letters of demand. If you don't pay this, You get no business in the United States of America, or you can come in and give me billions of dollars. What is he talking about? She doesn't know. She's just there to lie anyway. This moved on also to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who Herman Munster here continues to say the same things over and over and over again. But when it finally comes to them having to get these 90 deals in 90 days and actually own up to their promises and their deadlines that they made, watch how quickly this shifts from how many deals they want to get done. Scott Bessent.
We are going to have several announcements in the next 48 hours. And Joe, I think what President Trump is concerned about is the quality of the deals, not the quantity. As you could imagine, as he started herding the cats and trying to get everyone across the finish line, when he said that there's a chance that countries could boomerang back to their April 2nd reciprocal tariff levels, we've had a lot of people change their tune in terms of negotiations. So my mailbox was full last night with a lot of new offers, a lot of new proposals. So it's going to be a busy couple of days. But importantly, too, that President Trump has said that the countries would not go back to the reciprocal rate until August 1st. We are going to have several announcements.
I want to start the back end of that first. He said they're not going to go back to their old levels until August 1st. Now we're at August. We boomeranged again. Damn, are we in Australia or some? Sorry, I almost going to say we're boomeranging back to August 1st. Now to August 1st, tomorrow these trade deals actually go through. And by the way, best thing, we're not talking about quantity, we're talking about quality. What the hell does 90 deals in 90 days mean except for quantity? 90 of them, 90 in 90 days. That's quick and a whole bunch of them. That was the whole purpose of this. This is going to go by so fast, your head's going to spin. You're not going to realize it's happening. But now it's quality over quantity. I'm still looking for the quality of these bills or these trade deals as well, too, because apparently the quality is you sending off demand letters to other folks. And Scott Bessent, who sent this guy out to talk? What we're doing is we're talking like it's like the lies are starting to come up to him like vomit. Excuse me, I had to keep that down before that lie jumped out of my throat again. This guy's weird. But again, no one should believe these horrible, horrible liars. One of them is also Kevin Hassett. This guy goes on Fox Business every other week. He pissed off Stuart Varney so many times. Varney's like, so when are you going to do something? So instead, he talked to Larry Kudlow about the same things that they're constantly lying about.
I think I'm not asking which, but I'm just saying roughly how many trade deals do we have? Let's call them trade deal frameworks. Do we have coming into this? How many do you think we have?
You know, they're in various stages of being done, but it's more than 20 underway. Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent have been working really, really hard to move the ball forward on these things.
And the final one is, I think
they're so bad at this. I mean, Scott Bessent's working on this. I mean, I'm working on this, and I just suck at it though. Clown show constantly over and over again. I'm going to go back to Scott Bessent. I like this guy. I like the way he tries to sell things, and actually, even when he gets upset about these lies being told.
Okay, let's move on to trade, and it's amazing how quickly things move. I know yesterday you said by Wednesday we might have a couple of more deals to announce. I know it's Monday, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. Can you give us any idea whether that's likely? Is India, is that in the mix? Can you break any news for us here that something's going to happen in the next 48 hours?
Yeah, we are going to have several announcements in the next 48 hours. And Joe, I think what President Trump is concerned about is the quality of the deals, not the quantity. As you could imagine, as he started herding the cats and trying to get everyone across the finish line.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out there, again, the way that these anchors are so upset and stressed out. I'm not sure if did they buy it. These guys know better. These guys work on these business networks, even Fox Business. They know how tariffs work. They know how these deals will be working. Sorry, that's the same answer that he gave before. But the part being when CNBC host decided to ask him, so when are you going to do something, bro? It's because they're following this guy. Donald Trump is still talking about his letters. In fact, he's pretty proud of his letters. This is actually from the back end of June. And he was talking to Maria Bartiromo about his letter to Japan. I want to hear, before we read the letter to Japan, there's going to be a reason why it's written the way that it's written, is because this guy, watch him describe the way he's going to write his letter to Japan.
And then I helped China. So by reducing it.
We still don't know. We don't have the clarity on what you're going to do with these expiration of these pauses. July 9?
No, I think I
And
thought I
August
just
12th
said
with
it.
China.
No, I thought I just said it. You ready?
You're going to send letters.
I'm going to send letters. That's the end of the trade deal. I could send one to Japan. Dear Mr. Japan, here's the story. You're going to pay a 25% tariff on your cars. You know, so we give Japan no cars. They won't take our cars, right? And then I help China.
Dear Mr. Japan. Hey, dear Mr. Japan. I guarantee he doesn't know the names of the leaders in Japan. Guarantee he doesn't know who he's talking to. He doesn't know who he'd be addressing that letter to. So in talking to Bartiromo, it's Dear Mr. Japan. Is this like a male beauty pageant? Mr. Japan's going up against Mr. South Korea to take the crown for Mr. Universe. Bro, this guy is weird, bro. Mr. Japan. By the way, I want you guys to go back to what we were just talking about with Scott Bessent and those quality of those deals over the quantity. Donald Trump was also on the tarmac trying to explain all of this away. And again, think about how he said he can take care of all these deals. He can do anything. He's the best negotiator that's ever lived in history. Howard Nutlick is always talking about how he's done so great for the United States of America, and I can't do anything without the genius of Donald Trump. He can handle anything. Can he handle 170 countries dealing with all these things that he said he's going to get done in 90 days? Let's let him answer that question.
Sir, you signed a trade deal with Vietnam yesterday. Great deal, 40% on transshipping. Can we expect any more of that before next week, sir?
So we have a couple of other deals, but my inclination is to send a letter out and say what tariff they're going to be paying. It's just much easier. We have far more than 170 countries. And how many deals can you make? And you can make good deals, but they're very much more complicated. I'd rather, and I've been like this from the beginning, I'd rather send out a letter saying this is what you're going to pay to do business in the United States. And I think it'll be well received. I think it's just so many countries. And, then they go specific. Let's do this, let's do that, beef, ethanol. And I'd rather just do a simple deal where you can maintain it and control it. You're going to pay a 20% or 25 or 30% tariff.
You brought in a record
amount. We're going to be sending some letters out starting probably tomorrow, maybe 10 a day, to various countries saying what they're going to pay to do business with the U.S.
It's this evolution of this deal making. Now it's, did you guys know that over 170 countries, that's hard to do. That's a lot of countries. Who came up with this idea to deal in 170 countries and do them in 90 days? Or maybe it was 90 in 90 days. Maybe it was 170 in 170 days. But did you guys know that's really hard? And then when you're doing deals that you have to talk about like beef, and then you have to talk about what they want. Then after that, you have to talk about what we want. And then after that, you have to try and come to some kind of like a middle ground. And then when you do that, like that takes a lot of time. Did you guys know that making deals takes a lot of time? Did you guys know that negotiating is a process? Man, who would have thought? I thought I could get one done every day. And like I said from the beginning, what I wanted to do was just send out some effing letters. Sure, because when you started this, when you said tariffs are going to make us rich, you talked about sending out a bunch of demand letters to a bunch of countries that they should pay this much, and if they don't, or else. And the way to avoid it is to come give me money. I mean, you'll have your permits done in weeks, 2 weeks, actually, to be specific about this guy. So it's really hard for the deal maker to make deals. Why is it that Fox News people kept telling me that he's the great deal maker of all time, the greatest negotiator in human history, but he can't get it figured out because it's kind of tough? Maybe you shouldn't have effed things up in the first place. There's one more video from this guy. I just want to point out, because his evolution of his video, his letter to Japan has gone from Mr. Japan to this.
Done because you're sending the letters to follow up on Ed had asked earlier. You're counting these as deals by saying, here's the tariff rate we're going to charge.
I'm saying, here it is. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States. I hope you make a lot of money and you're going to pay us money. They were ripping us. They were charging us tariffs at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have some countries who are charging 200% tariffs and making it impossible to do business. And what the tariffs are doing is they're driving people in and companies into the United States. That's why we're building all of the work that you see happening in this country right now, and it's at a record level. All the factories, all of the AI institutions that are being built. It's largely because, well, I think it's because of November 5th, a good election, and I think it's because of the tariffs. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
You guys see all those factories being built? You see all those jobs being created? I mean, they're everywhere. Just like how gas prices were $1.92. They're everywhere. He just makes things up. What he didn't make up was his complete face, because from the side of it, he kind of had this whole shadow figure going off from the orange to the pale ass white part right next to his ear. That's one thing he didn't make up. But he definitely made up all these lies about the constant deals that are being made. Actually, I sent that letter off, and once that letter went off, it just meant everything. Welcome to the United States. Ready to make some money? They still won't say. All that money that they'd be making if anybody did bring their businesses here, or even just get tariffed at the rates that he's randomly tossed to the rest of the world, everyone already knows it, but they just don't want to fully admit it. You're paying for that. So when he says we're getting rich, what he's saying is these businesses that are charging you more because of the tariff rates that he increased so that they can make more money off of your ass, that's who's funding them. That's the bailout. That's the bailout for his excuses and his horrible planning and lack of knowledge on absolutely everything. You guys want to see that letter to Japan? It's a long letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to give you guys a gist of what this letter looks like. He's very proud of that. He keeps talking about. I sent a letter out to Japan. I sent a letter. Here's the letter. Come on. Just from the beginning. His Excellency, he sent out. Dear Mr. Prime Minister, it's a great honor for me to send you this letter, as it demonstrates the strength and commitment of our trading relationship and the fact that the United States has agreed to continue working with Japan. You mean continuing to purchase goods that get sent here and imported to companies that then sell them to our consumers because they want those things? Okay. Despite having a significant trade deficit with your great country, nevertheless, we have decided to move forward with you, but only with more balanced and fair trade, all capitals. Therefore, we invite you to participate in the extraordinary economy of the United States, the #1 market in the world by far. The reason it's the #1 market in the world is because we pay for things that come from other countries. So those other countries are like, oh, this is great. There's customers here. Let's send our things to them and they'll buy it. Now he thinks it's supposed to work that everyone comes here and somehow floods and creates, as he mentioned in that last video, AI companies or entities. How do AI entities create jobs for people when AI entities take away jobs from people? It eliminates the workforce because it does it for them. He doesn't know what the F he's talking about. I'm not going to go through the rest of that, but then he pointed out in the last little paragraph, if for any reason you decide to raise your tariffs, then whatever the number you choose to raise them by, this is the threat part, will be added onto the 25% that we charge. Please understand that these tariffs are necessary to correct the many years of Japan's tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers, causing the unsustainable trade deficits against the United States. He's an idiot. You know how big of an idiot? Let me show you how big of an idiot this guy is. You guys saw that letter. And of course, folks that think and have brains and would actually maybe put themselves in a position where they maybe would be confronted with this letter, Notice that there's but these red marks because there's lots of teachers and grammatical folks that looked over this, and you don't have to do anything but glance to notice all of the grammatical errors. Now, it's probably on purpose because he thinks capitalizing things like great honor makes it more of a great honor. Or maybe consistently capitalizing tariffs and non-tariffs throughout the whole thing means something that makes it more impactful. But honestly, what it looks like is a third grader trying to write a smart piece that they maybe looked up and said, let me try and put this into my own words, and then try to make it look like he has this great document that he's sending to other countries. This is just his Japan letter and all of the grammatical errors and the wrongfully capitalized parts and misquotes. Yo, the guy has exhibited to us so many times why he fails at so many things. He's not a smart person. That's why every time he's confronted with anyone who's smarter than him, which is 98% of the population, what happens is he talks about their IQ and then he talks about their looks, because that's as far as his brain can go, because he's very insecure about his intellectual capacity. He's not a smart person. He keeps showing us. One last example of that. This is great. He sent also one of these letters to Bosnia and Herzegovina. And there's apparently I didn't realize either, but there's a presidency chair group to represent all the folks. So one of those folks, her name is Zelisha Sivanovic. Sorry, I completely destroyed it. I don't know how to say these names, but I want you guys to see this. Somebody pointed this out. At the top, he goes, Her Excellency. Yes, she's a woman. And then as he started the letter, it's, Dear Mr. President, it's a great honor for me to send you this letter that demonstrates the strength and commitment to our trading relationship. It's the same letter that he sent to Japan when he had Mr. President there. And here it's Her Excellency. So he's misgendering her. Yo, you know what? You know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of all these extreme libs continuing to confuse our genders and get her mixed up with Mr. and Ms. You know, when are we going to finally have reality? There's one man and there's a woman in this. There's nothing in between. But this guy can't even get it right enough to continue to have a letter that's obviously a copy and paste of the other letters actually fit the person that he's sending the letter to. It's the United States of America. These are our leaders. This guy's running the country. It's a guy that said he's the smartest man in the world. He's the best deal maker ever. So as those deals continue to not being made, or as those deals just settle in at 25% tariff rates that of course get passed down to you, and then someone retaliates, they add another point onto that. Ready to empty your wallets and see if you want to still support him. Thanks, you guys. It's now 1 o'clock on the East. John is starting his show. He's just getting started. You know, my Sharona's playing right now. Glad you guys are here. Appreciate you. Another Tuesday here on the Watch Party. Who knows? We might be here tomorrow. Matter of fact, I do know. We're going to be here tomorrow. Glad you guys came. Glad you guys showed up. Let me stop stepping on John's show. We'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys make it that far. And we'll see what else happens between now and then. See you, Ma.